voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome back. Where to begin? Emergency Ukraine summit in the UK. We'll get into that. Trudeau meeting with the king. I'll tell you what that means. The whole world in the middle of a great reset. It has started, in case you haven't noticed. The thing is, are you ready for it? Do you really know what it is? Do we really see it? Are we being told the truth? Is what we think real? Is it all just some sort of an illusion? Are they just acting? Is it authentic? Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Do you really want the truth? Can you handle the truth? I'll try to give you some truth tonight. It's the best I can do. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we are back. So first up tonight, we have this summit in the UK. Volodymyr Zelenskyy meeting with European leaders over in London. Let me just get this cranked up here. So what do we know so far? We know that Zelenskyy says he's still ready to sign a rare minerals deal with the United States. This after his heated confrontation in the White House with the Vice President Vance and President Trump Friday. And they're also talking about this proposed 1-month truce. This proposed truce, I guess, is being put out there by France. And Prime Minister Starmer has unveiled a 4-step plan to guarantee peace in Ukraine after this summit today. And he has also pledged ongoing support with the UK government, allowing Ukraine to use $1.6 billion of UK export finance to buy more than 5,000 air defense missiles. And we have Donald Tusk in Europe saying that Europeans need to realize that they have still the capacity to be a global power. And with those kinds of statements, we are seeing obviously real concerns in Europe about the relationship with the United States, damaged as it is. It is not clear if the United States is even in alignment, really, with the European countries tonight. I would suggest that NATO and the U.S. Alliance with other Western nations might actually be over, including Canada. Maybe not officially. Maybe, I hope I'm wrong. Well, I'm just tired, and I don't need the turmoil, especially after everything we've been through over the past, 5 years or so. What a decade. Can't we please just get a time machine and go someplace else in time? a better time. This is just crazy. So, yeah, they met, and then after the summit today, so I showed you yesterday Zelensky arriving in London and being greeted by Starmer, and then we have this Zelensky repeating again his willingness to step aside as leader if Ukraine is allowed to join NATO.
Has there been any communication with the administration since the Oval Office meeting? Have they reached out to you? And separately, you talked about resignation a few days ago. How are you thinking about elections?
Yeah. Ну, комунікації є.
There is communication,
Не на моєму рівні.
not on my level.
Да.
Yes.
А що стосується
As regards
піти з посади,
resignation, my resignation,
якщо мене міняти,
if
отак я можу просто дати, як
if I'm to be changed and I'll hear, how can I put
з того,
it,
що зараз відбувається з підтримкою, міняти мене
with
просто,
what's happening
це буде непросто.
with the support to change
Тобто,
me, it will
мало
not be
просто провести
easy.
вибори.
Because it is
Треба мене
not enough
ще
to
й не
simply
допустити.
hold elections. You would need to prevent me
Тобто це
from
трішки складніше.
participating in the elections. And
Вийде, що
it
треба
will be
домовлятися зі мною.
a bit more difficult, so
А я сказав, що я міняю
they'll have to
на
negotiate
НАТО.
with me. And I said that I'm exchanging it
Значить, я
for
виконав
NATO
своє
membership.
завдання.
And then it means that I fulfilled
Що
my
є
mission.
НАТО і війна закінчилась, значить я виконав свою місію.
There is NATO,
Хоча, якщо чесно,
It means
це
I've
виглядає,
fulfilled my mission. Although, honestly,
що люди, не будемо казати їх посади, скажімо так, громадяни
looks
інших
like
країн,
the people, and I'll not be calling their posts, naming their posts, but the citizens of other countries are telling Ukrainians which president they should have, especially if these people occupy official posts.
неконструктивно
It seems
і
to me
недемократично.
a bit undemocratic and
Про
unconstructive.
цінності.
We are speaking about the
виглядає не дуже
values,
демократично.
and it definitely
Хоча я
looks
відверто
not
кажу, може
very
це вихід для
democratic.
всіх, і для
Although
Путіна, і для
I'm
всіх.
openly saying maybe it is a solution for Putin, for everybody. If I'm not that flexible as they say, I'm exchanging it for NATO.
Can I just ask, you alluded to citizens of other nations. I mean, since the incident, Senator Lindsey Graham said that perhaps you should consider resigning. Speaker Mike Johnson today said that maybe you should consider resigning. Is your attitude it's not their business?
Lindsey Graham
Дуже хороший
Is-
хлопець, дуже правильний.
Lindsey Graham is a very good guy. A very
Говорити, хто повинен
very
бути
nice.
президентом, чи йти
and
мені
speaking
з
who must
посади,
be the president
я
and
можу
whether I shall
надати йому
resign,
громадянство України,
I can
і він стане тоді
give him the
громадянином нашої
citizenship of
країни,
Ukraine.
і
He
тоді
will
почне
become
вже,
the citizen of our country, and
тоді
then
його голос буде
and then
набирати
his
ваги.
voice will
І я його, як громадянин
start to
України,
gain
буду
weight,
чути з точки
and
зору,
I will
хто повинен
hear
бути,
him as a
президентом.
citizen of Ukraine
Але
on the topic of who must be the
представляє,
president. But Lindsey represents the party that fights for democratic values,
Все одно
and
прийдеться обирати президента України
anyway, the president of
не
Ukraine
вдома у Лінсі Грема, а на виборах
will
в
have to be
Україні.
chosen not at home, at Lindsey's Graham home, but in Ukraine.
Okay, so with that, we also had Keir Starmer, and keep in mind here that these clips are clipped, and Starmer is talking about putting boots on the ground in Ukraine, but I think within the context of like peacekeeping at this point, not. I have to get more context, but here's what we have tonight coming out of London. Here he is.
First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. Together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. We're working with the US on this point after my meeting with President Trump last week. And let me be clear, we agree with the President on the urgent need for a durable peace. Now, we need to deliver together. Finally, we agreed that leaders will meet again very soon to keep the pace behind these actions and to keep working towards this shared plan. We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace. Thank you.
We are at a critical moment. What we decide to do and what we support as individuals is critical. And we need to make sure that when we're making these decisions on who we support, what we reject, we have to try to make sure that our minds are clear and that we are working with factual, truthful information. I'm just very worried about our future because of what I am seeing online. There is so much deception out there. I have been deceived, and I apologize. I am sorry, because I have been deceived. At times I have accepted things that I have seen, that I have been told as being factual because I thought they were coming from credible sources. Yes, I was tricked. Because I, even as someone who has worked in media all my life, did not see it for what it was at the time. And it's dangerous. And once you accept one lie, other information becomes distorted. Your perspective on everything changes. Your very reality morphs into something that is not so. And you find yourself in something of a mental slavery. And it is very, very difficult to climb back out of that dark place. No wonder the world seems so upside down these days. I'm trying. I'm trying to help. But even as I bring what I am confident is alternative views and truth to people. Some people just don't want to see it because it's an affront to whatever world it is that has been created in their minds. We'll come back to that. But here's Donald Tusk, Prime Minister of Poland. This was before he went to the Ukraine summit in London. Speaking about, again, us being at this pivotal moment in history where we have to make very hard decisions, and he is saying that Europe is stronger than people realize. I'll let him speak for himself.
Proszę Państwa, jest taki paradoks i
He says, ladies and gentlemen, there is a paradox and someone has already overlooked it. He says, just listen to this.
I zobaczcie, jak to brzmi. 500 milionów Europejczyków
500 million Europeans are asking 300 million Americans to defend them against 140 million Russians. He says, I want to repeat these words.
prosi 300 milionów Amerykanów, żeby oni ich obronili przed 140 milionami Rosjan. Chcę się powtórzyć tylko te słowa, umiesz liczyć.
He says, if you know how to count, count on yourself. Start relying on yourself, not in isolation, but with full awareness of your own potential.
To licz na siebie, zacznij liczyć na siebie. Nie w odosobnieniu, ale z pełną świadomością własnego potencjału. Europa, jeśli
He says, Europe, if there is something we lack today, it is not economic or demographic power, but the belief we are truly a global force.
czegoś dzisiaj nam brakuje, to przecież nie przewagi gospodarczej czy ludnościowej, tylko wiary w to, że jesteśmy naprawdę globalną potęgą.
I think I understand. And I think what he's saying in just more direct in more direct terms is Europe, the free world, Canada, everybody has just been using the United States as a military crutch for too long. And it's time to stand up and take personal responsibility, individually and collectively, for our future. I'm not even sure that that's really what Donald Trump intended to have happen here, but this is what's going to happen. But as we work toward that, we are in a very dangerous situation, because what is clearly happening is the United States is realigning more with Russia, maybe even with China to some degree, but I'm not convinced of that. And pushing America's traditional friends and allies away, kicking us all to the curb. We'll see what happens. I hope that this doesn't come apart at the seams. Part of the craziest part of the equation here is China, because what I see coming out of the Trump administration is that they hate China. I think they're like China-phobic, frankly. I know we have some problems, and I know there's Chinese infiltration even and spying going on here in Canada. That's really nothing new. I'm shocked to see that there's gambling going on in this casino. Of course, it's happening. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in the United States too. That's why they're so concerned about Huawei. You know, the cell phone giant. You know, they've banned it. Oh, but TikTok's okay, according to Trump. As long as Kevin O'Leary gets to buy it. We'll see. But as the United States aligns more with Russia, if the alliance with Europe falls apart and isn't there. It leaves the UK, all the European countries, it leaves everybody there very vulnerable. Largely because of access to satellite surveillance and communications, which are needed for like drones and drone warfare. If you don't have access to those Starlink satellites, there are thousands of them up there, actually. I don't know if you're aware of that. Thousands. For massive coverage around the world. This is like an extremely powerful surveillance network. Oh, everybody's worried that you're against like digital surveillance in your 15-minute city. Are you kidding me? You love Elon Musk, and he's the guy who's surveilling the entire world with his digital eyes in the skies all over the world. I can't make it up. Without access to that, Europe is in a severe deficit in terms of military capacity. And how would they ever catch up to Russia and the United States and China, all of which have space forces? People laughed at Donald Trump, remember, in his first go-round when he announced the creation of the U.S. Space Force, and then you had the late-night comedians mocking him, saying, pew, pew, pretending to shoot space guns with their fingers and mocking him and laughing. And yet it turned out that, oh yeah, space is the new military frontier, even though there were treaties in place a long time ago that were supposed to prohibit the weaponization of space. Oh no, it's very weaponized. But if you don't have that technology today, good luck in the future. I mean, how long would it take to put together a space program and start launching rockets and putting satellites into space and creating a whole network of satellites up in the sky for military purposes? Massive amounts of money, decades to go to get to that place from scratch. And if you can't rent the bandwidth, if you can't rent the rockets or space on rockets, Japan has capacity. They have a space program. But, I'm just saying, the technology has become so advanced, so sophisticated that any country that isn't already, in a part of that superpower club, it's gonna be really hard to catch up if you end up on the wrong side of the superpowers. And I can see the thinking. I can smell the brains burning as they've come up with this alignment of all three superpowers: China, Russia, the United States. What if we all got together? We could take over the world. Yeah, no kidding. And who cares about Europe? We'll just leave them in the dust. And Canada will just absorb it. Okay, Donald, you can have all of North America, Central America, and maybe even South America. Panama Canal, it's yours. Vladimir Putin, you can have, in exchange for everything we get over on this side of the planet, you can have all of Eurasia. And you can rule from Russia. And Xi Jinping, be my guest. You get your slice of the globe down there in Asia. All yours. Have at it. All you little countries, you don't matter. You don't even exist. Where do we? I don't know. Well, I do know. We do exist right now. I'm saying that when you're smack dab right up against a superpower, they kind of dictate, don't they? Oh, but then what would that be? A dictator? Is there democracy when you're coerced into something, when you're told what you're going to do? Or when they say, you've got a choice. You can either join us, in which case it's the golden ticket, Or you can say no. And then we'll just destroy your economy, let you get invaded by some other country, and then we'll just have to come in and take you over anyway. Because we can't have a foreign power on your soil. You don't get a choice in that matter. Oh, and don't even think about trading with China more, because we don't like those guys. And if you do, well, we'll have to invade you. Are you getting the picture? So what do? Well, if you're Justin Trudeau, you go see the king. That's what he's doing today. He went to the Ukraine summit. But what have I been saying for the last while? I've been saying that we dare not decouple from the monarchy, because that is actually that's the most powerful thing we have to protect us from what is clearly the most significant existential threat we're facing right now from another country, and that's from Donald Trump and the Oval Office, because he's threatening to annex Canada. That's a real threat. Oh, it's just America. They're our friends. I don't know. It doesn't feel very friendly when he's punching us in the head. Anyway, here, take a look. Here are the headlines on some of the mainstream media. CTV seems to have a pretty good handle on this tonight. Trudeau to meet with King Charles. There's the headline. As Buckingham Palace remains mum on Trump's annexation threat. And I've been saying, like, our history goes way back. And yes, we are a sovereign country, but we are one of the Commonwealth countries. We're part of a club with long-standing ties back to England. Just here, as Buckingham Palace remains quiet on U.S. President Donald Trump's persistent attacks on Canadian sovereignty, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to have an audience with King Charles III on Monday, during which that issue is expected to be a priority discussion. Trump has quadrupled down on his comments in recent months that Canada should become the 51st state. He's not joking. He said on several occasions the country could avoid the sweeping and significant tariffs he's threatening if it agreed to annexation, and that he's prepared to use economic force, which is not friendly, to make it happen. And then if you go down here, these guys are finally catching up to what I've been saying now for, well, a long time, actually. Here's Jason Kenney, Canadian politician, former Premier of Alberta, saying, for Canadians disappointed that King Charles has not commented on President Trump's threats to annex Canada in his capacity as King of Canada, he can only act on the advice of his Canadian First Minister, that is Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister. That's a core constitutional principle. It's an important point. And it actually proves that we are a sovereign nation. Part of the Commonwealth, yes, but the king does not just intervene, even in the face of a threat from another country to basically take us over. The king still sits back and lets us take the lead. But we are part of the club. And we do have ties to the monarchy. And that's a backstop. It's an insurance policy, which is what I have said for years, that people don't really understand. People are telling you out there that we're not a real country, that we're controlled by the king, that the crown controls everything here, and it is not true. But, Rick, every piece of legislation has to receive royal assent, and the king has to sign it. Yeah, that's right. Because what the king's role is not to dictate policy or even approve laws. His job is not to come up with or assert or even suggest policies here. It is to protect process. He checks all of these things as they are given to him, these pieces of legislation. And if they have followed proper process, protecting the will of the people of Canada, he gives it royal assent. And even here, where the country may actually lose its very identity and existence, he's not doing anything until he speaks with the prime minister. And that initiative, that onus, that has to come directly from the prime minister. That's what Trudeau is going to be doing tomorrow. He's going to talk to the king, explain the situation from the government's perspective. And then we'll see what happens after that. But know this. If we are threatened, if Donald Trump decides to take coercive actions against Canada, we can go to the UK and, as part of the Commonwealth, ask for them to assert our sovereignty, to underline it in a sense. So here's another post from Anthony Housefather, Liberal MP, saying, here says, Canada's head of state must be able to clearly say that we are an independent country and will stay that way. And there are others speaking out on this tonight as well. And suddenly our relationship with the Crown takes on a new perspective. You begin to see the value in it. The king won't dictate. If we choose to join the United States, they won't intervene. They won't stop it. If people choose that, I guarantee it. However, if we choose to remain sovereign as our own independent nation state, and Donald Trump is opposed to that, you will see pushback from the UK, I guarantee it. If we ask for it. Otherwise, I think the king will remain silent, and that is what he is doing tonight, because when asked to provide some sort of comment on this, the king said that this is not something that that they issued it was CTV actually that asked Buckingham Palace about this, and the response from the Royal Communications official back to CTV News was, I hope this email finds you well. This is not something we would comment on. That's because there has been no direction taken at this point from the Prime Minister. And that direction could come from the Prime Minister to the Governor General, who then is the King's representative in Canada, and it would report back to the King. But there hasn't been any. But tomorrow, this meeting takes place. And the UK is playing, an important role in all of this, not just in Canada, but certainly over in Europe. And that's why when Starmer went to meet with Trump last week, the day before Zelensky's catastrophe in the White House, he provided Trump with an invitation for another royal visit to Britain. And that's unprecedented. That's a second visit. Usually presidents don't get that. Not all presidents even get one. But Trump's been there. But they're bringing him over again because they see that they have a big problem. We all have a big problem because this is a reset, and it has started. Whether we like it or not, this is now underway. And people are perplexed, and world leaders, I don't think they realized how vulnerable they all were because they've let the United States take the lead on defense. And it has been an obligation of the United States to protect Western nations, other nations as well as the dominant nuclear superpower of the world. People say, well, they don't need to be the policeman. It's not about, but yes, it is. Because if you don't want, otherwise every country is going to try to get nukes. But if you have, and this was essentially the plan, in my view, after World War II, is that the United States had the nukes, and they were therefore obligated to protect the rest of the free world against outside aggression. If not, those other countries would seek out nuclear weapons themselves. And that's why the United States has had to take on the role that it has taken on. And the proper role for a superpower like that is to protect nations through a kind of policing, right? to protect the little guys, protect them, not dominate them, not say to other countries, you know what, you don't matter, so yeah, I'm just going to annex you. I'm taking over. Yeah, I've been in office for 2 days now. By the way, yeah, I'm taking over this country, that country. That's not what the United States role is supposed to be. And Donald Trump has clearly no sense of that at all. It's not about I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, I'm the strongest, I get to do whatever I want. And I see in his, I can kind of see that the wheels turning in his head too, even in that disastrous meeting with Zelensky. Well, if all I have to do to secure World War peace and prevent World War III is just align with Russia, we'll be friends with Russia. And maybe China too, but Russia. And then imagine how great that would be if we were working together, and how powerful we would be. No one would be able to oppose us. We'd dominate everything. We don't have to listen to anyone. That's why I keep hearing people of that political persuasion who keep saying, there is no political solution. There is no political solution. As soon as somebody says that, that means they don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in freedom. They believe in authoritarianism. And yeah, you can get things done real quick when you're an authoritarian. Just ask General Vallely, who said those very words on this program the other night when we interviewed him. And he said he doesn't believe in political solutions when dealing with geopolitical problems. No, you just have to find the solution and then implement it. I'm like, holy crap. Really? That's the mindset now? And of course, has been an advisor directly to Donald Trump. And I keep hearing these words. We don't believe in political solutions. We just have to implement these things. That's dictatorship by definition. And that's what's going on. Executive orders. I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. Here's 400 of them. I hereby declare that this shall be the way it is. And oh, by the way, your country, this is mine. And oh yeah, that body of water over there, I'm renaming that to the Gulf of America. And if you don't comply, if you don't call it that, there shall be consequences. You will be held accountable. Bizarro land, man. But here's the thing, and this is me speaking from an economic perspective because I studied economics to some degree in university. Whenever you have heavy government control of anything, there are always unintended consequences. And so while Donald Trump is sitting there trying to realign and have used diplomacy with Russia to bring the world to peace and avoid World War III, it's actually creating power vacuums. It is disrupting old alliances. It's scaring the crap out of people. Now you have all the European nations afraid of Trump. They don't respect him. They don't even like him. I'd say at this point they're just straight up afraid, petrified, because this is a crazy guy with nukes in their view. So they're like, we better start building more weapons. And they're not doing it because they now see that they need to meet their NATO commitment. They're doing it because they don't think that Trump can be relied upon as a partner in security anymore. And because they can't rely on Trump, they now realize that all it took was one election where one guy brings in a new administration with a completely different worldview that is more in alignment with your adversary than with you. And he's flipped sides in many respects, if not in totality, at least partially, and to the point where now European nations are freaking out. And rightly so. Now, you have nuclear power over there in Europe, but not to the degree that the United States or Russia has it. And they don't have military force or capacity to the degree that the United States does. And it's going to take years to build up their military capacity to a point where it provides really, I think, truly meaningful security for their continent. In the meantime, Europe is now incredibly vulnerable. It's wide open. It's like it's open season basically on European countries if the United States is not involved with NATO, with the security. All these people who have been shouting, "Say no to NATO! Let NATO fly apart! We don't need it. They're just a bunch of warmongers." Here's the unintended consequence of that. The unintended consequences of that. This brings us closer to World War III than virtually anything. Here's why. Because these European nations, UK, they have nukes. But they don't have a really, really powerful conventional military right now. It's degraded over time. Other European nations also, they don't have the capacity. Even those satellites, the Musk satellites, the SpaceX satellites, they orbit much lower than some of those other satellites that are up there. There are alternatives to the SpaceX network for other countries, but they're much higher up. The lag time for the communication is much greater. It therefore makes those satellites much less useful for drone warfare, surveillance, and there are far fewer of them. There are hundreds, not thousands. And so you're at a distinct disadvantage. And if you don't have access to those satellites, if the United States decides to not allow Ukraine to even buy the space on those, like lease it, because it's a private company running those, and you can just buy the space, which is, and I was going to say something else about some Russian claims in that regard, but the point is, you're way behind in technology at a time when technology is improving and increasing at an exponential rate. And if you're not already on pace, good luck catching up. Does Europe have the economic capacity? Yeah, they do. They have the population, they have industry there, they can ramp things up. And, we hear all this talk about the economy and how the European countries are in decline or they just don't have the capacity, but they do. You have big companies over there too, and they can ramp up production. And they have factories that they can convert to different kinds of production. So a lot of these claims are exaggerated on the negative side. But it takes time. So as a result, because these countries are so vulnerable right now, if there is an escalation of or an expansion of this war outside of Ukraine, and we're already seeing unrest in Romania and Moldova and Estonia, and we're seeing information warfare ramped up in all of these countries. We're seeing Russia cutting communications cables, undersea communications cables to the Baltic nations. We're seeing a response from NATO to that regard. So the war is already further afield than just in Ukraine. And it's already taken root here in Canada in many respects. That's why we're being threatened with the 51st state stuff. Because we're in play. It's all part of the big picture. It's all part of the big reset that's underway right now. And so if a country like the UK, if any of those European countries are threatened and they're being overrun by a military that has more capacity and they can't keep up, you think they're just gonna give up? Now suddenly the nuclear problem takes on another dimension. It's a different equation. What are you going to do? If the United States doesn't provide that stability, and by creating this power vacuum, Donald Trump is creating extreme instability in Europe. And as a result, we're getting to some degree, if not history repeating, certainly history rhyming. In fact, Zelensky getting kicked out of the White House just reminded me so much of what happened just prior to, during World War II, actually, when the Nazis went into Ukraine. And the way that they treated the nationalists there, who were hoping that the Nazis would support their hope, their desire for an independent Ukraine. They thought that the Nazis would come in and say, we've liberated you, because they said they were going to be liberated and they would be free, or at least that they would, since they were pushing the Russians out, the Soviets, they were like, hey, this is great. But it didn't turn out that way, because they were just as oppressive, if not, they were just as oppressive in many respects as the other side. And they wouldn't allow Ukraine to become independent as they came in to liberate the country. Keep that in mind when people are telling you that they're coming here to Canada to liberate us. Oh yeah, really? You're going to liberate us, are you? Yeah, we've heard that kind of talk before. We're coming to liberate you. Well, thanks. I don't need it. We're gonna liberate you whether you like it or not. You need it. You're all up there you need to be liberated immediately. Really? By whom? By us. Because we're so free down here that you need more of it. You need more of the freedom we have down here. Really? Because when I'm looking south of the border, I see a lot of problems down there that maybe they should focus on fixing before they come up here to give us whatever it is that they think we need. I just don't think it's any better. I see a lot of things that in many respects are worse. Depends on where you go. But so, yeah, thanks, no thanks. I don't need to be liberated. Not in that sense, no. And, if I want that, I'll just apply for citizenship, or I'll spend most of my time down in the States. You can just go over there now. If you want, you can go south for the entire winter and enjoy all the freedom you want. And they'll appreciate it, because you can take your Kazakhstanian dollars down there and spend them and contribute to their economy on that side. They don't mind. They like it down when you go down there to Florida. But no, I guess they just have to take us over. Whatever, man. Insane. Tonight, European leaders are, chiming in on this, and most of them are supporting Ukraine after what happened in the White House. Let's just go down a list of the responses here tonight after this. Well, just after these developments, we have the president of Lithuania. Ukraine, you'll never walk alone. The prime minister of Denmark. Dear Zelensky, Denmark proudly stands with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Of course, French President Emmanuel Macron says there is an aggressor, Russia. There is a people being aggressed, Ukraine. We were all right to help Ukraine and sanction Russia 3 years ago, and to continue doing so. We, that's the Americans, the Europeans, Canadians, Japanese, and many others. Thank you to all those who have helped and continue to do so, and respect to those who, from the beginning, have been fighting, because they are fighting for their dignity, their independence, for their children, and for the security of Europe. President of Moldova, the truth is simple. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor. Ukraine defends its freedom and ours. We stand with Ukraine. Swedish Prime Minister, Sweden stands with Ukraine. You're not only fighting for your freedom, but also all of Europe's Slava Ukraini. Incoming German Chancellor, dear Volodymyr, we stand with Ukraine in good and in testing times. We must never confuse aggressor and victim in this terrible war. That's largely what's going on out there, too, because of the information war. People they're being shown things in a mirror upside down. Croatia's prime minister, Croatia knows from its own experience that only a just peace can last. The Croatian government stands firm in its belief that Ukraine needs such a peace that means sovereignty, territorial integrity, and a secure Europe. Oh, by the way, Trump says that he's all about peace, right? Zelensky can come back when he wants peace. I don't know. Are you aware that even just within the first month of his second presidency, Trump bombed Somalia? Did you know he did that? Probably not. I did mention it when it happened. Has received almost no coverage, by the way. Finland's prime minister. Finland and the Finnish people stand firmly with Ukraine. We will continue our unwavering support and work towards a just and lasting peace. Estonian prime minister. We stand united with Zelenskyy and Ukraine in our fight for freedom, always because it is right, not easy. The comments go on and on. Ireland's deputy prime minister showing support. Latvia's, the prime minister of the Netherlands, prime minister of Luxembourg. The world is divided. America has been isolated. Trump has taken a turn. Super heavy duty 180-degree pivot. Some people are applauding it. Be careful what you're cheering for, because the unintended consequences are becoming apparent already. And I don't think the world is actually any safer at all because of any of this. Quite the contrary. I'll be back in a moment.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So who wants an election in Canada? I do. I know everybody's out there shouting for it. Well, you're going to get a by-election April 14th in Halifax. Here, I'll show you. Justin Trudeau has called a by-election. If you don't know what a by-election is, that is a riding in like an election in a single electoral riding, not at the whole country. It's just like one area. So, and this is in Halifax. And this is for a seat that has been vacated by Andy Fillmore. So this is going to happen on April 14th. This means that they will be voting in that riding, the Fillmore riding, on that date. And now I know everybody's heads are spinning and everyone is saying, well, this just shows that if he's having a by-election on April 14th, then obviously they're planning, when Mark Carney is installed as the leader, then that just proves there won't be an election because they're planning on having a by-election on April 14th, which means the Liberals will remain in power much longer. It's all a conspiracy. Well, maybe, but not necessarily, because there won't be a by-election if a federal election is called before that. So it doesn't mean that you can't have a federal election. And I would suggest to you that we're going to have one sooner rather than later. And I would say as soon as the Liberal leadership race is over with, you're going to get an election call very, very soon thereafter, maybe even immediately. And that is because the Liberals are going to want to take advantage of the political turmoil that we are being presented with right now. They want to fight on the issue of the 51st state. Poilievre wanted to fight this coming up election on the issue of the carbon tax and taxes in general. And he's having a hard time pushing away from that because he has so much invested in that campaign and the slogan and everything that he has been, doing to get people's heads wrapped around those ideas and that messaging. And now that's just been blown out of the water. Like it's just like people are not as focused on that now. And the Liberals have capitalized, politically on this 51st state stuff. If not, I don't think they did it intentionally. I think it's just, again, an unintended consequence, I think, of what Donald Trump has been doing. He's talking about annexing the country, and suddenly he's helping the very guy, Trudeau, and his party, the party that he loves to hate, without realizing that he's done it. And then there are people out there, I know you have, they're working together, Trudeau and the Liberals, they're all in on it. And it doesn't matter what it is, people have some sort of a crazy conspiracy that they spin up around this stuff. In this particular case, that is so elaborate that you are definitely giving them way too much credit, I think, if you're buying into that kind of idea. That it's like a conspiracy between Trudeau and Trump, who are actually super great friends. No. Oh no, they're working together. Today, Bitcoin price bounced back. I don't know if you've noticed, but Bitcoin was kind of tanking. It went from about 106,000 US, a peak of around that amount of money, and it tanked over the last few days to about 83,000 US. Big drop. That's really significant. Until today. And that's because Donald Trump made an announcement. He is, just by opening his mouth and saying words, which is what a president does a lot, but the words of a president matter a lot. They carry really, they carry a lot of weight. Here's what he writes. He says, a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed by the Presidential Working Group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Solara, and ADA will make sure that the U.S. is the crypto capital of the world. We are making America great again. And as a result of all that, Bitcoin and Ethereum actually are also involved in this, part of this whole thing, where they're going to use these digital currencies as part of their reserve. I'm not sure it's wise, but they're doing it. And as a result of that, the price of Bitcoin bounced back today. And some of the other digital currencies involved increased in value even more on a percentage basis. Let's just check the price here currently right now. Yeah, so here it is. It went from like about 80, I think today it started at around 84,000 or something in that range. And as I will show you right now, it has recovered already just because of what Donald Trump said, back up to 93,000 U.S. That's about 130. I think that's like just 134,000 approximately Canadian, based on the current exchange rate. But isn't it interesting how Bitcoin price has a USD value, and then if you want to convert it to Canadian dollars, you actually have to use the value vis-a-vis the US dollar to figure out exactly what the exchange rate is on the Canadian dollar to purchase the Bitcoin. Because it's all connected, right? But everything is still sort of pegged to the US dollar, if you get my meaning, even though we've moved into this crypto age. So that boosts the price, turns the price around. How long will that bull market continue? I don't know. I don't even look at it like a market because it's a store of value. It's not really an investment like buying a stock, which is investing in a company which has productive capacity. Bitcoin is just a store of value, but people are buying it as an investment because it just keeps, slowly, gradually, incrementally going up over time. And that's because of many factors. I won't get into it tonight, but the bottom line is just because of the president doing that, it's had a positive effect on the value of those currencies. That's because he basically said the U.S. government is going to be using U.S. dollars to buy crypto. That's going to increase demand. That means the price is going to go up. So even before they've started to do that, to create a reserve of cryptocurrencies for the United States, even before doing it, the price goes up. Now, once they start to actually purchase it with U.S. dollars, that's going to drive the price up even higher, because then you get the true dynamics of it in motion. And there's no denying the natural law, the laws of economics, of supply and demand. Like you can't escape that. No matter what kind of government intervention you have. What goes up must come down, and vice versa. So keep your eyes on that prize, and if you have crypto, I hope you make $1 gazillion. And I sure hope it doesn't just evaporate into nothingness. It's interesting, this new administration, very, very, I'm talking about the Trump administration, very focused on Romania. They keep coming back and making reference to it. J.D. Vance did in that crazy speech that he made over in the EU, where he basically alienated all of the European countries from the United States because he just did. So they overturned an election there in Romania back in November of 2024 because of allegations of significant irregularities, as the courts there determined, including suspected foreign interference and information warfare. And they say that there was just massive amounts of it. And then after reviewing the results, which resulted in the election of a right-wing government or candidate, Calin Georgescu, he surged from really obscurity to win 23% of the vote in the first round and was accused of benefiting from a coordinated effort that Romanian intelligence services attributed to Russia. Declassified documents released by the outgoing president back in December detailed aggressive hybrid Russian attacks aimed at influencing the election. And that included over 85,000 attempted cyber attacks on election-related IT systems and a sophisticated influence operation involving thousands of TikTok accounts, 25,000 in total, with 800 activated just weeks before the vote, promoting Georgescu. Romanian authorities claimed that his campaign distorted voter preferences, violating electoral laws, especially since Georgescu has declared, get this, and you're not getting this information, folks, from other media outlets at all. Certainly not the pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, and pro-Russian media. get this, Georgescu declared zero campaign spending. How do you win an election at all when, at that level with zero campaign spending? Like zero. He spent zero. And yet he had all these influencers online going viral and like, so he goes from nobody knowing who the guy is to like virtually overnight becoming a household word, a name, because of social media campaigns that he says he spent $0 on. Maybe he didn't spend it. Maybe Russia did. They seem to have some evidence of that. And his visibility went from 0 to household, and he came away with that much of the vote in the first round. So anyway, I'm a little perplexed at this too, because again, a double standard being laid out here. Because you think back to the 2020 election, and what was the biggest beef with Trump? They rigged it all. The Dominion voting machines. It's all fixed. It's rigged, of course, blah, blah, blah. So his allegations, it depends on what side of the political fence you sit on, right? So they're complaining that there were improprieties, and actually social media influencing was one of the biggest beefs he had, and the MAGA people, right? I was like, yeah, you can't be doing that. You can't put your thumb on the scale on social media, and you need a fair and balanced mainstream media. All these complaints, and people take them as valid. But when you hear complaints about, and Tulsi Gabbard, right? She's aware of these complaints, not just from ordinary, regular, everyday people, but this was a ruling that came from a Romanian court after reviewing the evidence. The evidence partly, which she's not going to tell you. I haven't listened to this clip, but I guarantee she's not going to tell you that the guy who benefited from all this claims he spent $0. Okay, I'm not buying it. Maybe he did spend $0, but if you have anybody, domestic or foreign, propping you up or promoting you with online campaigns, media campaign, that's like a gift in kind, and that's the same as making a massive political contribution, which is probably illegal in just about any real free democratic state. But here she is talking about this on, what is this, Fox News, I guess, today.
In this way, are showing that they are not committed to peace. And in the case of many of those European countries, that they're not committed to the cause and values of freedom. Even though they speak of this, we heard very clearly during Vice President Vance's speech in Munich, different examples of how these European partners and longtime allies in many cases are actually implementing policies that undermine democracy, that shows that they don't actually believe in the voices of the people being heard, and implementing anti-freedom policies. We're seeing this in the United Kingdom. We're seeing this in Germany. We saw it with the tossing out of the elections in Romania. So there's something fundamentally deeper here that shows a huge difference in divergence between the values that President Trump and Vice President Vance are fighting for, the values that are enshrined in our Constitution, the interests of the American people in our peace and freedom and national security, versus those of many of these European countries who are coming to Zelensky's side as he walked out of the White House, saying basically that they are going to support him in continuing this war and that they don't stand with us around these fundamental values of freedom.
But what if people are just being lied to? What if it's just straight up lies? Donald Trump suing CBS because of the way an interview with Kamala Harris was edited on 60 Minutes. Like how much did he sue them for? It was like let me find out. It was like an insane amount of money. I'm looking it up here. It was, yeah, $10 billion. $10 billion. I'm suing you for $10 billion because I don't like the way that was edited. But isn't that their free speech? Aren't you just supposed to let the stuff go? Like, this is the double standard, right? And that they went to court over this stuff in Romania, and I guess you can comment on it all you want, but if I do see this going on, and it's extremely effective, and I think it is dangerous. I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I know that what we have right now is not really the solution to the problem, because it really does undermine this. It's this just free for all that we're getting online. This is actually the threat to democracy, because the bad actors are not acting in good faith. They are putting out not free speech, they're putting out lies, fabrications, using sophisticated technology, psychological warfare techniques, and people buy it. And there's so much of it. It's not even anymore, if you tell a lie enough times, people begin to believe it. No, now it's like, just create an endless stream of lies to the point where you can't tell what's real anymore. And then you can manipulate people, and even worse than that, convince people that whoever it is you don't want them listening to, convince them that they shouldn't be listening to them because they're lying to them all the time. So then you cut that relationship off. It's abusive. It's like a cult mentality in a way, because that's what cults do. They alienate people from their families. They convince people that, their new family is whatever cult that they're part of, and they encourage you to just cut off relations often with your family members, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, sometimes even your spouse and your kids and everybody. So you become isolated and entirely dependent on the cult family. And that becomes your world. It's very much the same kind of technique that's being used online to isolate people. Go down into that rabbit hole, I think, really, and if you want to think of it that way, where you're just there and you're isolated. And have you not noticed too that as we get a lot of people, as I just sit here thinking about this on the fly, isn't it interesting how people have been divided along these ideological or just political lines, and many of us have been alienated from our actual families? This is the impact of this kind of warfare. It's very destructive, and it's happening on all sides, both sides. But as a result, once you pick a side, you're just over there now, and now you can't even talk to your cousin over Thanksgiving dinner without it erupting into something that looked a lot like what happened in the White House. And why is that? Because even in the White House, I think those guys' minds are infected. I think Tulsi Gabbard's mind is in many ways infected with this. So is J.D. Vance's. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, wait a minute, we have an information warfare problem on our hands. It's very real. All the security agencies are aware of it. Some of them engage in it themselves. And so it's a entirely valid thing to say, hey, whoa, we need to be aware of this. We need to find some way of dealing with it. And no, I don't buy what J.D. Vance said over in Munich at the security conference. I don't buy that for a minute, that you just let it go and just rely on the people and trust the people to be smart enough to recognize it and not be vulnerable to it. No, our populations are vulnerable to it. Our democracy is vulnerable to it. That's why these countries are investing, probably at this point, billions of dollars into these programs. Everybody's worried about MK Ultra mind control. Well, this is that. In a digital version, it's MK Ultra mind control on steroids, digital steroids. And that brings me, I guess I can talk about this, like somebody sending me more propaganda crapola. I'm bombarded with it from people who keep saying to me, oh, Rick, you're wrong about this, or I disagree with you on that, which is fine. But then they send me, here's proof of this or proof of that. And what do they send me? They send me stuff, videos or links to things, but mostly videos that aren't proof at all. And a lot of it just in the last couple of days about Ukraine, right? Rick, you don't know what you're talking about, and it's not true. Well, I will say this. The reason I'm saying a lot of the things that I'm saying is because I now realize that I was tricked before. And as I dig and dig and dig and dig, I'm like, holy crap, that was a lie. And then my eyes open and there's light on the subject, and I'm like, holy crap, that was just a straight up lie. Case in point, I know that there are a lot of concerns right now surrounding arms sales, corruption, and I don't know ultimately where the investigation by Doge and Elon Musk is going to end up with regard to funding to Ukraine. I'm not even sure I trust them. I'm pretty sure I don't, because they're only telling you what they want to tell you. And I'm not even sure if what they tell you is going to be the truth. It might be selective truth. It might even just be an outright lie at this point, because I just don't I don't trust those guys at all now. He's in a bit of a conflict. But I do know this. Back when the Ukraine war started, I showed you images on this program. And I'm pretty sure it was Brendan who brought these things forward first. And I'm sure it was, actually. Well, 90% sure. It was 3 years ago. So when Brendan was on the program still here, there was one night Ukraine war started, and I'm pretty sure he was the one doing the digging, because I don't remember doing it at all. He brought the images forward of weapons on the dark web. And he was like, Rick, look at this. And we put them on, and we spoke about it several times, how U.S. supplied weapons were going to Ukraine and were being sold on the dark web for a discount. And I bought it. There were images, there were pictures, there were these website images, and at the time, frankly, I was just convinced. It looked authentic to me, and there seemed to be credible news sources talking about this stuff. Well, not quite that simple. I will show you. First of all, let's take a look at some of these. I think I had some images up here for you. Well, easy enough for me to bring them back. So, yeah. Lots of stuff online. Allegations of, and there has been a history of illegal arms dealing through Ukraine and other countries. Ukraine not alone. So lots of pictures, and some of these from like the dark web, right? So fair enough. But accuracy and perspective is important. And of course, Russian state television, Russian media, they've been pushing this narrative of Ukrainians selling U.S. donated weapons like javelins, anti-tank missiles on the dark web. And back on June of last year, a pro-Kremlin English language social media account posted, Ukrainians are selling javelins on the darknet. Their military is reselling NATO-supplied gear. Their account's since been suspended on Twitter, but still boasts over 100,000 followers on Telegram. And then there's this other pro-Kremlin Telegram channel with 700,000 subscribers saying the same, on the same day rather, claiming that thanks to Western support, javelins, machine guns, and even tanks will end up with terrorists and criminals worldwide. And then they had photos like the ones I just showed you of an ad allegedly selling a javelin for $30,000 with delivery promised to Ukraine, the Ukraine-Poland border or beyond. So been a lot of talk like that online, but there have been many investigations into this, and some of these sites, as it turns out, are fake, and some of the images even that have been shown of the weapons, turns out that they're mislabeled in some cases. They're not accurate, and in some cases, because in some cases the weapons that they're saying are U.S. supplied are actually not weapons from the United States at all. So some of this stuff is absolutely just fabricated. So we have to be careful about, figuring out how much of this has actually gone on. So I have been looking into reports and studies. I'm just showing you some images here. This is a BBC report just reflecting some of the so here are examples of mislabeled weapons. Because the weapons are not really as they're supposed. The weapons labeled are not from the United States. So I did go and I found studies from Harvard University on this, and from, I hope my tabs are still open. I hope they're still open. Well, Tucker Carlson has been one of the most vocal and aggressive in promoting this narrative. And so here's News Nation, just giving you sort of the alternative or the opposite perspective on this, because Carlson has been saying that these weapons are being sold, like half of the weapons, I think he said, of everything sent to Ukraine is being sold on the dark net for as little as 20 cents on the dollar. That there's no actual evidence that has been presented to support his claims. The Ukraine government-affiliated website United 24 Media also criticized Carlson's show this week, citing Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation. And the website said stories about the country selling weapons on the black market are simply false narratives that benefit Russia. And I think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Russian media like RT has learned that some of these ads warn that Ukrainian arms smugglers might be crossing into Poland, they say, posing a threat to Europe. One state TV report on RT suggested javelins and stingers could end up with terrorists. But fact checkers have been looking into these dark web websites, and there's so many inaccuracies that even the authenticity of the whole website on the dark net in some cases is being questioned. And there's a cybercrime research firm that has been looking into this and found that one of the main sites it doesn't have much traffic on it, which is another red flag. So there's more work to be done with regard to this stuff, but that's not to say that there isn't a problem. And I'm sorry, I actually lost my tabs on this stuff. Here, I think I've got... here we go. Here's... there's just a more balanced perspective on it, I think, in these studies coming out of like Harvard and some of these other independent places that have gone to research this stuff to see exactly how severe the problem is, or how maybe less severe it is. Where did it go? I had it up again. Yeah. So here's headline: passing the Syrian weapons off as Ukrainian weapons out of Syria. I'm sorry. This whole thing is kind of disjointed because I've lost my tabs. Let me take a break so that I can bring these things up properly for you, because everything's just become disorganized here on my screen. My apologies. I will be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So yeah, here you go. So here's this report from Harvard, and this is actually goes back more to the beginning of the first invasion, with the research going all the way back to like 2013, and then subsequent years after that. And it does give you some, better perspective on the numbers involved here, and it's nowhere near like half of, like, it's not. The invasion of Ukraine has led to a larger quantity of weapons entering Europe, and thus a greater possibility for weapons to go missing. Since 2022, there have been sporadic reports of small and large arms being stolen in Ukraine. In early 2022, a Russian-led criminal organization operating in Ukraine reportedly stole at least one grenade launcher, a machine gun, and over 1,000 rounds of ammunition to sabotage and destabilize Ukraine's efforts to secure the region. Although it is difficult to confirm when and where weapons are stolen, the sheer scale of weapons transfers means that it is highly likely that some weapons will go missing over the course of the conflict. And indeed, we have seen some that have been missing. And there have already been, reports coming out of the Department of Defense, and they have acknowledged that there has been some leakage of weapons, but not like 50%. Total exaggeration. More than that, and this is something that just happened, and it was actually mentioned on our show, so I feel kind of compelled to review it again here tonight. And that is the claim that Volodymyr Zelenskyy, in that meeting with Trump and Vance, that he called Vance an effing bitch. And Kevin Michelizzi was on the program with me that night, and early in that broadcast, he made that claim. He said that this happened. And I was like, really? I didn't see that. I didn't hear that, and I watched the whole thing. And if you waited until later in the broadcast, we ran it so you could make your own decision, your own assessment of this. I'm going to run it again, because I think what we've got going on here is character assassination of Volodymyr Zelenskyy. No question about it. Now, I want to hold anybody accountable if anybody's stolen anything or they're acting improperly. But a lie is a lie is a lie is a lie, and we've got so much darn lying going on. I'm tired of the lying, and I'm not gonna just sit back and accept it, regardless of where it comes from. So if somebody's lying, I'm gonna call it out. And I think this is a straight up fabrication, a lie. Here it is again. If you missed it.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour.
No.
I'm
not buying it.
And seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour. I have been to.
This is freaking fake. Even if and whatever audio they put in there, I don't think that it's. I don't think you can really tell what the heck he actually says myself, and that they're just putting it on there to make you see it that way. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go back and find the original clip, the unedited version, and we'll watch it together, and then you can decide. But I think we need to put that original piece up against this edited piece where they crop in and show his face closer with the lips moving, which you can easily do with artificial intelligence now. And they say, we got it on the hot mic. And I don't think in this case it's real. Stay with me.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so don't take my word for it. Don't take my assessment for it. You can assess for yourself. I've got the two clips right here. Again, here's the edited thing that is making the rounds. It's actually, to some degree, going viral because it's being pushed and promoted.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour. I have been to. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a.
Okay. So there's that. Let's bring up the other clip. Here's the original. I don't know if I'm probably not cued right to that moment. Let's see if we can find it here. Oh, that's I need to go to this one or this one? This one here. Okay. Is that the right one? Yes, it is.
Diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count one.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President.
Okay, so that was it right there. You can hear something, but I can't really make it out. It's just like it's. What is it? I'm gonna go to the chat. Anybody hearing that? I mean, when we ran it the other night. People were like, no, it was fake. There's no way that, in my view, that is what they're claiming it is. This is, yeah. If he's, whatever it was he said, I don't think you can make it out. It's inaudible. And so much so that the different videos that I'm seeing about it, there are variations even in what they're putting up on the screen and saying, which is they're using the word bitch, but I'm not buying it. Yeah, I know. And that's because, I'm hearing we've got like tons of pro-Russian trolls in there because I'm under attack here every night. And some of you just want to believe what you want to believe. And that's fine. You guys can just keep your heads in the sand if you want. But there's no way that that's what they're saying that it is. That's BS. Oh, Rick, you're a warmonger. No, I'm not. Because even with the Department of Defense and the Government Accountability Office, from the stuff that I looked at today, they've been digging into this stuff, but they've not found the level of corruption that Mr. Carlson is asserting. What else do we have here? Yeah, like these claims that Zelensky bought property in Florida with your money. It's not possible, actually. So there's no credible. I've been digging into this for some time, and it's sent to me again today. Oh, Rick, he bought a hotel, he bought casinos, he bought airplanes, he bought a $35 million home in Florida, and there's no credible evidence of any of that. If there is, you go find me the evidence. Not some article from some fake freaking news site or a Tucker Carlson pro-Russian accusation that's not backed up with any actual evidence. It's just a rumor, a fake assertion that has been put out there. Public records in Florida, which are accessible for real estate transactions. Research has been done into it, and they don't show any property linked to Zelensky or his immediate family matching that description at all. And PolitiFact, Snopes, USA Today, they've all done investigations into it, and they found no substantial evidence and no substantiation in official property registries or Zelensky's financial disclosures. And if you do searches across the 67 counties in Florida, there's no evidence at all that Zelensky has purchased any properties there under his name or associated entities. Now, what they've done, the propagandists who are trying to discredit Zelensky and really assassinate his character, cite the Pandora Papers, and they have revealed Zelensky's offshore holdings. And they mention properties in London, but make no reference to real estate in Florida. And that's not to say that even those properties that he owns in Florida, or in London rather, are have been acquired improperly. And the Pandora Papers, if you're not aware, that was part of a massive leak of 11.9 million documents from offshore service providers that were released by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists in 2021. And the leak exposed the hidden wealth and financial dealings of a lot of global figures, including politicians, business people, celebrities, oligarchs, and among those was Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine. And it shed light on his offshore holdings, which were tied to his earlier career as a comedian and media entrepreneur. So the Pandora Papers revealed that Zelensky and his close associates, including his wife and key partners from his comedy troupe, were linked to a network of offshore companies. And so those entities were mostly registered in jurisdictions like the British Virgin Islands, Cyprus, Belize, and they showed that Zelensky held a 25% stake in an offshore company called Maltex, Multi-Capital Corporation. It was registered in the British Virgin Islands, which he co-owned with colleagues, and a couple of those were with the Security Service of Ukraine. And so through Ukrainian law, as he became the president, he was required to declare his holdings and declare any conflicts of interest. And so some of these assets were actually being held by his wife. And yes, there are offshore holdings that have been revealed. And so Zelensky transferred his stake in Multi-Capital Corp to one of his colleagues just weeks before winning Ukraine's presidential election. And that move was seen by some as an attempt to distance himself from the offshore holdings that as he was campaigning on an anti-corruption platform promising transparency and reform. But the Pandora Papers showed that even after the transfer, the offshore network continued to operate with his associate listed as a nominal owner, raising questions about whether Zelensky still retained any indirect benefits from it. And some stuff was in his wife's name. And so there were some concerns or questions about all of that that came out of the Pandora Papers. And while the Pandora Papers did not specify Zelensky's total wealth, there were earlier estimates from Forbes magazine and the Ukraine edition of Forbes, which they say that his total net worth, after they've studied at Forbes, is around $20 to $30 million. That's what Zelensky is worth. And that's a pretty credible source. And most of that money came from Vartel 95, which was his media company. And some of that money was transferred offshore to Cyprus. And so in the Zelensky case in the Pandora Papers is just a small part of a much larger story about offshore finance in Ukraine, where, of course, you have oligarchs and public figures who use offshore holdings to hide their wealth. But if Zelensky has a net worth of $20 to $30 million, and that's all the money that he's really been moving around, there's no way that he can be buying all of these things that people are claiming that he's buying. And some of it is just so off the charts ridiculous and stupid that it's not believable anyway. And if people are buying into it, then you've really just got to have Zelensky derangement syndrome, ZDS. I'm not saying that there might not be some corruption going on. I'm sure that there is, as there is in every country, but I want facts. And I know that these claims that he bought a casino, and what was it, the Vilnius casino, I think it is? Yeah, I was looking into that one. And there's no way. It's just a complete fraud, the whole thing. Yeah, here's Ukraine's President Zelensky bought a casino in Cyprus. See, the reason that the fabricated stories were created and used Cyprus is because the Pandora Papers identify Cyprus as the location for where his offshore holdings were identified. And keep in mind that most of those, even through the Pandora Papers, the money wasn't really connected to him directly. It was indirectly connected to him. So as you look at this stuff for perspective, it's a false story according to Snopes. And the casino itself, which is Vuni Palace Casino Resort Hotel. The claim was first made since deleted June 1st, 2024 by the Turkish news outlet Oda TV. It was then amplified in part by an account on X, Aussie Cossack. Yeah, I've seen that. That describes itself as a registered foreign agent for Sputnik News, a Russian state-controlled media agency. And you can see the pictures there. You can find that casino on travel sites where you can book travel to it. And I've also come to find out that the actual owners of that casino we're told they're going to try to take some sort of legal action because of the negative fallout from this propaganda about Zelensky buying the casino, which they, when contacted, said is not true. He doesn't own it. In fact, here's a story about it. And I'm not taking like everything word for word from any of the stories that I see about this stuff either. I'm just saying, better be questioning this stuff, because some of it is just like off the charts stupid. Hotel taking legal action over false claims that Zelensky bought it. From Newsweek. See, they're trying to break your will. They don't want you to think. They want you to think your country's not real. They know that if they undermine support for the war here, they win over there. If you take the weapons away because you're not, people here don't want to supply them and they don't want to support Ukraine, then Ukraine loses. If they convince you that everything is upside down, then you lose. They win. And Russia invaded Ukraine. But somehow people have it in their heads that it's the other way around. I need to take a break. I'll be right back. Let me leave you with this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, so I'm looking in the chat. See, and here's the problem with liars, is that you spend all your time running around in circles trying to debunk the lies. And so after a while, you just have to stop paying attention to them. Because here's Angel Hart saying, Rick, how do you explain Zelensky's net worth of $596 million? Where's your proof? You show me the proof that that's how much it is. Because you can. This is the problem with this misinformation, lying, propaganda. You can make any accusation you want and just keep saying it over and over again. I want accurate information. And when people send me crap, just because people repeat it over and over again, it doesn't make it true. Case in point, this whole thing about BlackRock buying all the land in Ukraine. But like I said the other night, how can Trump be making a minerals deal when BlackRock, we're told, already went over there and bought everything up? I thought BlackRock already bought it. That's a narrative that was spun up like months ago. And I said back then, it's not true. BlackRock is there, but they're acting in sort of a financial advisory capacity. And yeah, they're finding ways that U.S. companies can invest in the rebuilding of Ukraine. But and I'm going to show you here, I'll prove tonight, and I'm so tired of dealing with this crap, but I'll prove again tonight that it's not possible for BlackRock to have purchased half of the farmland, as the narrative goes, half of the farmland in Ukraine. Let me bring up my notes here. I hope I still have them. So here we go. Again, there's no definitive evidence to support this claim that BlackRock purchased 50% of all farmland in Ukraine. Ukrainian law prohibits foreign entities, including companies like BlackRock, from directly owning agricultural land. The Land Code of Ukraine restricts ownership to Ukrainian citizens, companies wholly owned by Ukrainians, local councils, and the state. And this restriction has been in place even after the 2021 land reform, which lifted a moratorium on farmland sales, but maintained the ban on foreign ownership. So these claims about BlackRock owning large percentages of Ukrainian farmland, like 50% or more, have been circulating widely on social media. And there's no substantiation. So today, Johnny in Toronto, I know you're out there, Johnny, you sent me this clip from Jimmy Dore, who has been repeating this line over and over again. But just because Jimmy Dore keeps repeating it doesn't make it accurate. So if you look at, I've got it up here. It's just not true. They don't own it. Let me find the graphic for you. Here we go. The Land Code of Ukraine. They have laws that prohibit this. One law in particular. It's the Land Code of Ukraine, Article 22. And it clearly states, land plots that cannot be transferred into ownership. Agricultural lands may not be transferred into the ownership of foreign nationals, stateless persons, foreign legal entities, and foreign states. And I have the document, the legal document, right here. It prohibits such activity and such transactions. And here's the actual legal document from Ukraine. It's all right there. I pulled the specific part that's most relevant. Article 22, Chapter 5. There's Chapter 7. And I gave you the graphic straight from it, copied and pasted straight out of it, word for word. But the propaganda is that, yeah, BlackRock went over there and it's just America exploiting the land. Actually, quite the opposite. And that's also why this whole thing with the mineral rights deal, it's somewhat ridiculous too. And the antics with Trump and Vance, frankly, in the White House, not only was it gross, it just showed how simplistic they're looking at this. See, there are other laws that regulate the way that land and resources in Ukraine can regulate foreign ownership. And the reason for that is because of the history that Ukraine has endured, frankly, over time. So specifically like Article 22 and the agricultural land issue. If you look at the historical context, Ukraine's farmland is perhaps the most fertile in the world. It has this really rich black soil, and it has been a strategic asset and target for countries for centuries, often attracting, invasion. And the restriction on foreign ownership ties directly to historical experiences and the exploitation and loss of control of that farmland. For instance, under the Russian Empire and later the Soviet Union, Ukrainian farmland was heavily exploited. During the 19th and 20th centuries, imperial policies prioritized grain exports, often leaving local populations vulnerable to famine. So you've got the Holodomor, which took place 1932 to 33, which was this man-made famine under Stalin, and it killed millions of people. And that was tied to the forced collectivization of Ukrainian land. They stole the land, basically. They forced the kulaks, the farm owners, to produce grain, which was then confiscated so that Stalin could take the grain, sell it, and then use the capital from that to capitalize and industrialize his country. That was how he financed the Soviet Union's industrial revolution, on the backs of Ukrainian farmers. And then after Ukraine gained independence in 1991, after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was concern right away about preventing a new form of economic colonialization. The collapse of the Soviet Union left Ukraine economically fragile, and policymakers were afraid that foreign entities, corporations, or governments could just come in, buy up land cheaply, undermining their sovereignty. Obviously, we're seeing that in play right now. And this wasn't about stolen land in the immediate past, the concerns about that, but they were really, they were, because of that experience, they knew what had happened, what could happen, so they wanted to prevent it from happening again in the future. That's why Article 22 was added as a piece of legislation in their legal framework. And they've got over 33 million hectares of arable farmland in Ukraine. It's extremely valuable, just the farmland. I'm not even talking right now about their precious raw earth minerals. And then in the 1990s, you had those oligarchs, consolidated control over the land. These are rich guys, basically, who controlled everything. And then you've got Russian oligarchs in there. So Article 22 is a safeguard against indirect foreign influence. And then the land code itself is just there to protect Ukrainian sovereignty. And what's Donald Trump doing right now? What's Russia been doing? They went into Ukraine. They invaded Ukraine. And people are saying they only invaded you. Look, whoever it was just a silly comment. They invaded Ukraine because they were being invaded. No. That's just stupid. The restrictions, are exactly that. They're there to prevent foreign ownership, to preserve the resources for their people. And if you go in and read the legislation, it says right in there that that those resources are owned by the people of Ukraine, and they are managed by the government. Now so if there's any foreign investment, it has to be just that, like an investment. The control of the companies, the control of the resources has to reside with the people. It has to be domestic. And so the thing that makes the whole stupid blow up in the White House so crazy is that Zelensky doesn't really have the authority to just sit there and sign a piece of paper and just hand over all the mineral rights to Trump and Vance. There's a process that still has to play out, and people should be aware of that. Even if he were to sign something for Trump and Vance and the White House. Parliamentary approval is still needed back in Ukraine. It has to go through a whole process legally for it to play out. Now, and there hasn't really been enough time for even their parliament to deal with it. Now, Zelensky is saying they're ready to sign a deal and they can move forward with that. But it's just like it would be here in Canada. If anything happens where you've got foreign investment, there are regulations in place in Canada to regulate how much foreign ownership there is, how much foreign ownership, how much Chinese ownership of real estate there can be in Vancouver. And they've tightened up those restrictions. There's been new legislation passed, new even municipal laws restricting the kinds of ownership and levels of ownership that can take place even just within the local municipal market. A lot of rules in place. It's the same thing in Ukraine, environmental rules. It's not as simple as just telling Zelensky to sign a piece of paper. So, in any event, what time is it? Oh, it's already getting on near the top of the hour again. Okay, another quick break. Computer's lagging here. Come on. What is going on? Everything's freezing up on me tonight. I'm sorry, folks. No, it's not. I can't even do anything. The whole computer is frozen on me. I need to, let me see if I can get it to work here. I hope I'm even still on there. Here we go. Now we seem to be getting a little bit of cooperation digitally here. Ah, there we go. Okay. I'll be back right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Too late. Too late. Too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Anybody want to take phone calls tonight? I'm a little disjointed here, so I could maybe use some help. Just moving the dialogue along. Let's put the phone number up. We'll see if we get any calls. Here we go. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, I'm having all kinds of weird computer stuff going on here. And I can't even make the chat open up on the side here at all. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'm getting the call lines open here. Now I'm getting... Okay, now it's doing it. So there's something weird going on with my chat window, and... Yes, we've got... Okay, somebody's calling in. Good. Okay, there's one caller. So we've got one caller. I'm going to hang on there, caller, because I'm still wrestling with the computer stuff, which is going wonky on me, but I'm going to bring you up on the screen so people can hear you. Who's with me tonight anyway? Can you hear me? Oh, good. Okay, hang on a sec here. Let me get you up. Sorry for all my technical slowness here, because everything's lagging, and... Here we go. Okay, now you're on. You're getting some feedback there. You might want to mute your audio so we don't get the echo, the delay.
Why am I getting feedback, Rick? I'm on. I just called the number and put the pin in.
Oh, there you go. Okay, it sounds okay now. I think we're okay. Maybe it was me.
It could be maybe I have a bad cell connection or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. RV,
How you
it's
doing,
you.
Rick?
Welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't know that at first.
Yeah. So what are you thinking? What's on your mind?
Well, you were let's go back to you saying what you're saying about Zelenskyy again, because you refreshed my memory on what you said about what he said.
Sure. Sorry, are you asking me to repeat something, or I
want you to refresh my memory on what you said about Zelenskyy. I want to hear it again.
You want it? I said a lot.
I
So
was kind of I was doing my own live too, and I'm actually doing my live now.
Okay.
But you're not on my live. Well, actually, you might be. Maybe I should shut my mic off.
Well, that's okay. If you share
I'm
far and wide.
I'm muted on mine. So I'm muted anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, refresh my memory, because I kind of caught bits and pieces of it.
Well, I'm just saying, basically, I'll give it to you like the Reader's Digest version. All I'm getting at here tonight is that, like all politicians get targeted with negative attacks, right? Especially high-profile politicians.
Exactly.
And so, in the case of Zelenskyy, I'm just coming across... And it's not surprising, obviously, because we're at war. The first casualty of war is truth. And so I just see a massive amount of propaganda, sophisticated information warfare content that's aimed at him to assassinate his character, right? It shouldn't come as any surprise. So... I'm just identifying certain articles and things that I know are highly questionable, if not completely false, and I'm just drawing attention to some of this stuff. And the thing that really focused my attention on the subject is that video, which, as a media guy, and I know what video editing is about and audio, that's a not a complete fabrication. That's a way of leading people into thinking something is there that may or may not actually be there. I think that is BS. And so people can make their own assessment, but I think people need to be aware. And that's really what I'm saying. I'm saying look at these things more critically. A lot of people just shut down one side. They're only willing to look at one sort of side of an issue or an equation, and it's just very dangerous. I'm just trying to make people look at things more critically and keep a truly open mind to the whole thing, and not get sucked into lies. Period.
Well, hell, you're right about that. Yeah, you really have to critically think. I mean, just about everything you think you know is not true. There's so many lies out there that we're just scratching the surface on all the lies we're finding out, Rick. So yeah, it does take that critical thinking.
That being said,
you're making their minds work. Like you're making everyone's mind work. And if they would realize, the room would actually realize this. I tried to tell a lot of people this last night on my lives.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got to start listening to Rick. You got to start exercising your mind. The guy ain't stupid. He's not stupid, guys. And I know, look, you never ever see me defending Rick, but I'm defending him because I know he knows the shit, man.
Well,
he knows what he's talking about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's all I'm really saying tonight. And I'm also saying that, where there needs to be accountability, we should have accountability. But what I don't want is for people to be unfairly convicted of crimes because people have been given false information. I don't want somebody to go to jail and I don't want people to die unjustly because people have been sold a false narrative. And there's false information out there all over the place on all sides. So I'm just trying to be as accurate as I can about everything. And if Zelensky's stolen money, then that's, fine to hold him accountable for that. But show me actual proof. Show me, the real story so that it's a conviction or an accountability based on truth, not on some BS thing about him buying a bunch of casinos and yachts that there's no real paper trail. There's no real evidence of that, right? Just give me the truth and we'll hold people accountable for it.
Exactly, Nick.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Okay, have you heard about this Russia USA deal where they're both going to split their military budget in half, both of them? They're going to form an alliance, and Russia is going to be able to, take or keep all the territory that it's had already. There's a big mining mineral mine on there that they're going to allow billions of dollars, allow the U.S. to mine. And this is all in the peace deal in Ukraine. And have you heard about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm following with, some of what you're saying. I think there's sort of some stories overlapping. But yeah, certainly that's what Donald Trump has been saying. He would like to cut the U.S. military budget in half. And then...
Well, this came out last night, Rick.
Last night?
Yeah, that check on I think it's either China Connection or China Observer. Okay? And everything they've been saying for a long time has been accurate. It's not like CBC. So I think it's something that you should look into, maybe for tomorrow night's show.
China Connection.
I think
that says there's ChinaConnection.ca. Is that a Canadian site?
No. It's a YouTube.
Oh, a YouTube channel?
Yep.
I don't know. Let me look for it.
Either China Connection or I know there's a China Observer, but this is the other one. I think it might be China Connection. Somebody in the room might know what I'm talking about.
Well, I know Trump. I know Trump for sure made a statement that he wants to cut the military budget in half, and then Putin did respond to that. I know for sure that's and Putin, made comment on it. It's nothing firm at this point, but
no, I know. Yeah, but it's something that's in the works that could happen.
It could.
Because they're saying that even if they both took half of their military budgets away, Russia and United States, that they would still be more powerful. They'd be still the most power in the world to take on everyone like China or anyone that wanted to take them on. And now we've got this problem here that Canada is now sending $5 billion to Ukraine. Then we've got Turkey getting involved, sending troops. And
who's sending troops?
Turkey.
Oh, Turkey?
Yeah, Turkey's getting involved now. UK is more than likely getting involved now, sending troops or whatever they need.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is I don't know. I'd have to look at this, but are you saying that they're sending troops to fight or troops to work to go in there as peacekeepers after there's some sort of a ceasefire or peace deal?
Yeah, to fight in Ukraine. Yeah, to fight in Ukraine. They're sending troops in Turkey.
I'll look at that. Let me see if I can find some confirmation on that.
I think that might even be on that same video as well, Rick.
Yeah, I can't find the channel. If you have a link, send it to me. I just typed in China connection or whatever, but I'm not seeing a channel that matches that.
I had it. I might actually.
Yes, yeah. I'm looking here. I'm just doing a search, and what I'm finding, RV, is that Turkey has discussed possibly sending troops as part of a multinational peacekeeping mission to Ukraine, but they haven't explicitly said they're going to send troops in there to fight in the war at this point. And I think what they were talking about at the summit today was coming up with some sort of a ceasefire or plan, which was put forward by France, and then they said, even Starmer in his address that we ran, he said that after a period of time, after the ceasefire takes effect and there's a period of time that goes by, then they would look at sending in boots on the ground to enforce the peace, which would then provide some sort of, I guess, security guarantee in a way, because then if Russia were to attack, they'd be attacking troops from these other countries, which would be somewhat more problematic than just continuing the war with Ukraine directly. So that's why you put them sort of in between the two sides, right? If either side attacks, then they end up attacking those troops. But I don't think that will be acceptable to Russia, because these are NATO countries. And if you put troops in there, in the view of Putin, it'll look like you've amassed NATO troops on the front line. And if you have a ceasefire, then it's like fortifying the line with NATO troops. So he'll just say no. That's not going to fly in my view.
We're spending too much time on that. Let's just assume that they all send troops in. Okay.
Okay.
Let's assume that they all do, and if they all send troops in, Rick, and Russia and United States form this alliance, guess where that leaves Canada?
Oh, right in the middle. We're in the middle of everything, so we got to make a choice.
Fair game, right? That was.
Oh, that too.
The point of what I've been trying to say.
Yeah, if we choose, this is what I was saying at the beginning of the program, and I've been trying to tell people for some time. We're being presented with a choice that I don't like either way, which is to say we align with Europe and maintain our ties there with the UK, the Crown, strengthen our ties with the European Union, just like Ukraine was presented with that exact same question. Or you, now in this case, you choose to align, to ally with the United States and then Russia.
We're bordered with United States and Russia.
Right. And if you
understand what I'm saying? If they form an alliance, we can't really form an alliance anywhere else because we're bordered with them. You know what I'm saying?
That's sort of the problem, isn't it, for us, just because of our geographic position? Yeah. Now we're sandwiched, right in between the U.S. and and then through the northern border on the other side, Russia. So yeah, it's
that's a good way to force Canada to become a part of the United States, isn't it, Rick?
It's sort of it's like giving you a choice when you really have no choice. And then
exactly.
And that throws into question then a couple of things. One, do you have democracy and free will? If another country is, if you're just being not given a choice, no, that's authoritarianism. So you're saying you will join us. We're taking you over. That's what it is. And then two, do we actually have a real country if we can't assert our sovereignty? And then I'm saying at the beginning of the program, if you want to assert our sovereignty and we don't have the ability to stand alone, then where do you turn in that instance? You go to the UK and you say, we need the backstop, that insurance policy. We need to cash that in because we're still connected to England. And that's why for years we've been told that we don't have a legitimate constitution, that the United Kingdom, we need to decouple from it. That this is why the whole campaign has been in place to promote us decoupling from the monarchy, because they've been working on this for years. This is not just something Donald Trump came up with on off the top of his head. This plan has been in execution for years.
Of course, every plan has been, everything that's going to happen has been planned for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. And so here we are at the crossroads. We're in the crosshairs tonight. And
well, see, here's the problem, Rick. We're sending $5 billion plus everything on top of that he mentioned was crazy stuff on top of that as well. We're just talking about $5 billion. I know it's not our money. It doesn't matter. It's not the point. Point is that we are taking Russia's money, giving it to Ukraine, which puts us right in the middle of this war.
Actually, technically, the money that would end up going to Ukraine, as I read, if I read the finances on it properly, the money is actually interest that is generated, and then that goes to Ukraine, and they're not taking the funds, the principal, straight up and handing it to them. But anyway,
it's still Russia's money's interest. It's not Canada interest. It's Russia money interest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Russia has confiscated property on their side too. This is the kind of terrible stuff that happens during a war, and that money's confiscated from rich oligarchs and others who were asserting control, and in some cases outright stole the land from Ukraine to begin with. So who's right, who's wrong, depends on your perspective.
Well, I'm not even talking about any of that. I mean, all of that is a different story altogether, and that's in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more talking about if they sign that deal, and we are sending all this money to Ukraine to support Ukraine, and then we've got Russia now, USA, Foreign Alliance, there are border countries. We are a part of the United States after that, right? There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because we cannot defend ourselves. We are a sitting duck and a part of that agenda. And that Agenda 2030, the country is to be split in how many sections, Rick? Is that part of this agenda?
Mm.
We probably talk about that.
Well, I think what was really playing out is what I've been talking about with this worldview coming really out of Russia. This is what's playing out right here with this, and this is a version of a new world order that we're being subjected to, and that's why the thumbnail tonight is the Great Reset has begun, or it's started. It's underway right now.
Yep.
We're living it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Rick. Yeah, that's why I called in. So I just wanted to bring that to you, and maybe do a little bit research on that. Maybe throw it in the show tomorrow. Check it out. China Connection or China Observer, something like that, Rick. Okay, it is China something for this newspaper.
Yeah, so if you have a link, send it to me, because I did search just while we were here, and I couldn't. It wasn't popping up for me at all using those keywords.
I can certainly find it quickly and send it to you. Do you have an email or something?
Yeah, you can send it to RW581. I'll put it up here on the screen.
I'll have to. You don't have to. Is it on your site at all?
It's on my screen right now. You can send it to rw581@aol.com. That's where people can send e-transfers to if you want to donate to the show. Anybody. Or you can donate also at freedomreporters.com.
Can you put that in the room so I can copy it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You want me to put that in? Where do I go here? In this system. In the... I'm not sure how to send it to you. This is... I'm still getting used to some of the things on this. What's that?
Put it in the chat. I meant put it in the chat.
Oh, sure. I can put it in the chat. Yep. Here we go.
So I can probably paste it.
If the chat thing is going all wonky on me here, I don't know. Okay. I think there, it's popping open now.
This program that you're using doesn't have a private chat on it, like StreamYard?
Not that I'm seeing right at the moment, because I've never used that before on this new system. And we switched over there a few months ago, and I've never had to do it. I'm not sure where I'm clicking to do that. But here, I just got it in the chat. Are you on YouTube or are you on Rumble?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube? Okay, so you'll see it there. I can't see the Rumble chat.
Okay, so if you want to delete that
right now,
you can delete it. I've got a copy.
So I'm not even able to see the Rumble chat at the moment. It's going all crazy over there too, so it's weird.
Yeah, I've copied it. So if you want to delete that, you can.
No, it can stay up. It doesn't matter if anybody wants to email me there.
Anyway, that's all I wanted, and yeah, I'll send you that link. I'll try and get it to you in the morning or something.
Okay, cool. I'll take a look. I'll look at anything because I'm trying to keep an open mind about
all right,
stuff.
Take care, guys.
All right, thank you, RV. All right, folks, and if you do want to call in, I'll put the number back up on the screen. If I can make this computer work. I believe there's the number on the bottom on the ticker. 1-647-734-4220. And then when you call in, just hit that PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. And you can join the conversation. We'll stay on for a little bit longer in case anybody else wants to join. And I will put the number up on the screen here. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, I'm back. And I don't know what is... I do apologize, folks, that there is something weird going on with the system here, and the Rumble thing too. It's like it's odd tonight. I can see the chat here again now. I couldn't see it before. Weird. Very odd. I'm going to go in here and just check the settings. If you want to call, you've got the number up on the screen. And share your thoughts. Help me out here. Give me a little help on the narrative tonight. I am going to go here and look in the chat settings. Something's gone wrong. Well, I've got everybody on the line. There we go. That's odd. Okay. Well, that's weird. Well, sorry about that. If there's anybody, is anybody having trouble in the chat? I need to go back and, no, I can't see the screen on there at all. Okay, let me backtrack on that. There, it's back up. I can see it again. CBC Brown, I see, oh, now I see it. Okay, CBC Brown says, I'll call in, but only through smoke signals. Lindy says Johnny was deleted. Johnny was deleted? Let me check. I'm looking. Johnny got deleted? I don't know what that's about. Johnny was deleted. Well, I will undelete him. Except I don't see him on a list or anything here. I'm looking at, looking in there where that would be. What's his handle again? Is it, I can't remember what it is. It's Johnny something, right? It is Johnny. So if I search for that. I don't see that at all. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Because I didn't delete anybody. All his comments were deleted. That's odd. Well, anyway. Well, sorry if that happened. I don't understand. But I couldn't even see the chat there for a while, but it's back. Well, I apologize if I caused a problem or if there was a problem with anybody. Anybody else having a problem in the chat? I also couldn't make the chat thing pop open on the YouTube side. And I can't even see the Rumble chat when I'm just over here in the studio. I have to like physically leave and go over to look at the channel. And it takes me out of the studio, so I don't spend much time over there. I should spend more because we have so many people watching there. I try to, but I'll open the chat here. Anyways, does anybody want to call in? 1-647-734-4220. And that was a good call from RV. I appreciate that tonight, RV. Thank you. Yeah, Katie says it's me, not them. Okay. Yeah, it's my computer is. I think my computer is getting bogged down. It's not even. I don't think the internet. I think it's my actual computer tonight, which probably just needs to be rebooted. So there you go. All right. Well, that being said, we're getting into the middle of the hour here. I'm just going to check the headlines. Am I missing anything important here tonight? Oh, the Oscars are on tonight. Does anybody care? I haven't really been paying attention. I don't go to the movies much more anymore because it's so expensive. I think I went to one movie, maybe two in the last year at a theater. And Mike Myers wore a Canada is not for sale shirt on Saturday Night Live, on a return appearance there, taking a shot at Donald Trump. And we'll have to see what happens with this meeting tomorrow between Trudeau and the King. That's an interesting turn of events, but not unexpected at all. So, with that being said, let me pull this down, and I'm going to take that off there. There we go. And I'm going to take this thing off there. So I'd say it's probably time to wrap up for the night, and I do appreciate you guys hanging out here with me. Things kind of got disjointed tonight. I apologize for the clunkiness of this particular program this evening, and if anybody had problems in the chat, I do apologize for any problems. I'll take a closer look at everything, and if there was anybody that was inadvertently sidelined over there, I'll rectify that after the broadcast is over. I don't know what happened to Johnny, because he's not on the list of banned or deleted or muted people at all, so I can't restore him even if it did happen, because it's not on the list. No idea. Anyway, that being said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m., and my computer's freezing again, so it's probably good that I'm signing off, but I do have just enough digital power left in the reservoir, enough gas in the tank, to bring you a closing tune tonight. What shall we listen to? Is this going to fly? No, that was not going to work. Our selection is becoming more and more limited over time. All right, what do you guys want to hear tonight? How about we did Free Dog last night. Let's just do something fun that's not even directly related to anything at all, other than, well, since we were talking about the Oscars, how about a movie car song? Magic 88, a tribute to Back to the Future and the Back to the Future DeLorean. See you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Future's in sight, the DeLorean's ready, it's time to ignite. Stainless steel with the gull-wing doors, this machine's built to break all the laws. Flux capacitor lights the way when the speed hits 88. Through the years the world will know this time machine's the star of the show. Magic 88, we're flying through time in a DeLorean, feeling so fine. With Mr. Fusion we're set to soar, past, present, future, forevermore. Magic 88, hold on tight, in the DeLorean we light up the night. Hit the gas, the road's a blur, in the blink of an eye it's all astir. Lightning bolts power up the ride, with Mr. Fusion charged up inside. Fueling the future with scraps in hand, turning trash into power, that's the plan. From Hill Valley to the stars above, the DeLorean's ride is the one we love. Magic 88, we're flying through time in a DeLorean, feeling so fine. With Mr. Fusion we're set to soar, past, present, future, forevermore. Magic 88, hold on tight, in the DeLorean we light up the night. Bleak sky, we're on the move, in that DeLorean we found the groove. From Don's Wild Ride to Marty's Scream, this car's the heart of the dream. Movie magic shining bright, DeLorean's wings ready for flight. Through history it stole the show, now forever it's the car we know. Magic 88, we're flying through time in a DeLorean, feeling so fine. With Mr. Fusion we're set to soar, past, present, future, forevermore. Magic 88, hold on tight, in the DeLorean we light up the night. When you see those lights aglow and the tires blaze as the legends go, Remember the ride that made us believe, with Mr. Fusion's power we never leave. Magic 88, we're flying through time in a DeLorean, feeling so fine. Mr. Fusion, we're set to soar, past, present, future, forevermore. Magic 88, hold on tight, in the DeLorean we light up the night. Great Scott, we're on the move. In that DeLorean we found the groove. From Doc's wild ride to Marty's scream, this car's the heart of the dream. We never leave.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.